Hello, Mark from Enchantment of Eternity here to give another thoughts on Sense8 Season 2, this time talking about Episode 4, Polyphony. So, of course, as always, these are just ramblings off the top of my head, and I have only seen up to Episode 4, so these videos should be safe for those who haven't seen beyond Episode 4, so it will contain no spoilers beyond them, so please don't post any below. So, I gotta be honest, with this episode, I kind of was bored with it, honestly. I found it, kind of the least interesting episode. I mean, it starts off kind of interesting with them, escaping from the meeting where Will and Riley have to run away. Particularly Will, for some reason, has to hide and run away from the police. And it was okay, I guess. I don't know. I just wasn't that interested in, Leto, being a drama queen to distract the cops. It's like, whatever. But it was interesting that they didn't know, how the villain guy, I guess they call him Whispers or Mr. Whispers, how he got out. So they thought that either that other dude that they talked to just got killed, either lied to them, and actually didn't imprison Mr. Whispers, which I don't think is the case, seeing as Mr. Whispers killed him. And then I think it's the other option that they came up with, that somebody else freed Mr. Whispers, which I think is the case, that they have another villain, bigger villain, that is yet to be revealed. And honestly, I'm going to make a prediction here. I'm going to predict by the end of the season, Mr. Whispers dies, because he's not that great of a villain. And they'll, at some point towards the end, they'll reveal this new, bigger, badder villain, and he will take over for the next season. Assuming there will be a next season, but that's just a discussion for another time, because that hasn't been determined yet. Anyway, so that's my sort of predictions on it. The rest of the episode, I mean, it wasn't horrible, it wasn't bad, don't get me wrong. It didn't suck or anything. It was just it was okay. I just wasn't all that interested in seeing, Capia run around with the riots. And then this episode focused a lot more on Kala, which I mentioned before, she's my least favorite of the Sense8. So I wasn't all that interested in that. Although I will say, I did get a bit interesting towards the end of the episode, where we see Leto investigating Raul, who was, of course, a part of the other Jonas's Sense8 sort of cluster, I guess they call them. And it's interesting getting the backstory on that, and it was really cool that his father opened up to him, because they knew him, they had an affair previously. And so he learned some sort of more information, and apparently, he was a reporter, so he had some clues, some photos and stuff, and left him a videotape that showed the old Mr. Whispers when he was younger, first drinking the power and becoming whatever. So that was interesting. That sort of ended on the ear, and the son's storyline was interesting too. How they got tracked down by those cops, and she had to beat the crap out of him. And it's interesting, if they thought they escaped prisoners there, she was such a high profile prisoner as well, that they only sent 2 cops. Maybe it was just these 2 cops and no one else believed them, because you think they'd send a whole squadron, because usually escaped prisoners is a pretty big deal. But anyway, for purposes of the plot, they only sent the 2 guys, and it seems like they're implying that she knew that guy, or they knew each other, and she's like, "Oh, it's you!" They used to, train together or whatever. That was okay. That rooftop scene reminded me a lot. I kept thinking a lot about Infernal Affairs, and I know that's Hong Kong and they're in Korea, but it still reminded me of that movie anyway. But it was interesting, and she had to part ways with the other prisoner she escaped with, which I'm fine with, because I think she needs to move on. I was getting, that storyline was getting a bit boring. So it's good that it's going to progress to something else now. So that was pretty high. I don't know what they're going to do about it. It seems like they'll develop that cop, and he'll probably form. Yeah, I almost got the impression, I almost expected him to be like, "Oh wait, son, I believe you. I know you were set up by your brother," but that didn't happen. But I suspect that she might somehow get him on her side, but I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But that was pretty interesting. And of course, it's really interesting. Of course, it ends with the revelation that Jonas might die. And they're going to kill Jonas to send them a message. So that was a great, eerie way to end the episode. And of course, I forgot to mention earlier, they had this, the drug that the dude gave Will that was supposed to inhibit. And it's interesting that they thought, well, can we trust this guy? Do we really know what this drug does? Because I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking they could just take that drug and it would kill them, or worse, give Mr. Whispers more power over them. So they very intelligently actually had had it analyzed, and it was interesting. Riley had one of her old druggie friends analyze it for her, and he had Kala sort of take over her body and ask all these intelligent questions. And it was like, how do DJs know all this stuff about drugs, about biochemistry and all that? And that was cool. I like that. So, and it turns out that the pill actually does what they said it does, is blocks empathic impressions. So it pretty much completely takes away that thing that was irking me in season 1 about how all you have to do is look at you and you're done, because to me that made him way too powerful. And this kind of, not really, because you have to have a supply of the drug. They only have a little bit, but I'm sure maybe they can replicate or try to get more. But this is like a kryptonite to Superman, and you need kryptonite, because otherwise, and Superman's just invincible and there's no dynamic whatsoever. And I think it was the same thing with these guys. All they have to do is look at you. That's too much. So actually, season 2 did answer my prayers there, so to speak, or addressed my concerns. So it's actually, that was really impressive. So I'm really happy with that they did come up with a device to make these villains less powerful, which I needed to. This is what I said at the end of season 1. I was like, they can make this better in season 2 if they address it, and they did. So that's great. And yet they still have that power because they don't have an unlimited supply of the drugs, but at least it's something, it's a response to not make them too invincible. So I like it a lot. But yeah, most of the episode was kind of dull, but it's not a bad episode. It was good, interesting. As I said, there was things about it I liked. So interested to see the next one. So make sure to join me for those. Thanks for watching.